all seen how police have to respond to riots sometimes. We've seen protests. We've seen the lengths that people will go to get what they want. But on today's episode of Mumbles, I'm bringing you a game that puts you in the shoes of the police or those that are opposing the police and ask you, what are you going to do? Today I bring you Riot Civil Unrest, coming up next on Mumbles. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Mumble. Today's game review is on a game called Riot Civil Unrest. And this is a game that is available for the price of $12.99 on multiple systems, including PC, Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and Nintendo Switch. So please note, today's game review is done on the PlayStation 4 version. None of the other versions have been taken into account, so please keep that in mind. Civil Unrest was a game that was developed by Merge Games and produced by IVP Games. Now, both of these companies do have some games under their belt. They're not totally clueless in what they're doing. So in that regard, we're not too worried about them. But what is Riot Civil Unrest about? Riot Civil Unrest is a unique, thought-provoking experience that places you at the heart of some of the world's most recent confrontations, spread across 4 campaigns and over 30 individual scenarios, from Oakland in California to Tiananmen Square in Egypt and Caracas in Venezuela. Riot's Civil Unrest lets the player control either protagonists or law enforcement officers in an effort to portray a balanced view of each event. So basically in this game, you take control of either the opposition or the police and try to put an end to any turmoil that is going on. Simple, easy to understand. Now let's talk about the graphics, the soundtrack, and the control. First off, the graphics in this game, at the end of the day, I cannot sugarcoat my feelings on the graphics. Despite claims that this game, it has some of the best pixel art graphics ever seen, I don't like the graphics. Yes, the background's pretty. Yes, oh wow, look at how pretty everything is. But your characters look like little stick people. They're little pixel things. And I don't like it. I'm sorry, I just don't. It's unique, it's interesting, but it's not for Mumbles. Now, soundtrack-wise, this game has gaming elevator music, plain and simple. It's just music that is there to please the ears, nothing more. Half the time, I'm not even paying attention to the music when I'm playing this game. It does nothing to affect your gameplay experience, so kind of a negative there. Control-wise, again, I have to point out, playing this on the PlayStation 4. But control-wise, I have to say that they're a bit hard the controls are just a bit hard to understand in this game and to use. Maybe it's because it uses a controller, maybe it's just the way this game was made. But I have to believe that the PC version has to be a lot better in controlling this game. I'm not a big fan of the PlayStation 4 controls in this game. Now let's talk about the gameplay in this game. Basically, this game asks you to lead either the rebels or the police and beat back the other side either by violent means or whatever other means you have at your disposal. This means you could do things such as use smoke to scatter a crowd or actually arrest people using the police. The main difference between rebels and police units is that the police units are split into specialized units. These specialized units can be things such as assault, shielded and ballistic police. Each of them can do a different thing. Now, the difference between that and the rebels is the rebels basically are what they are. They're just normal people. You can go violent or non-violent. If you want to go violent, get your sticks and stones ready because you're throwing them at people. Objective-wise in this game, no matter what uprising it is you're working on, you're either trying to start or defeat some kind of objective. Now, this is usually done by pushing the other side out of a designated zone or pushing yourself into a designated zone. Whatever that is, that's all the objectives usually are. Either get yourself into an objective and get everyone else out of it, or push everyone out of an objective. That's usually it. As you go through the gameplay and you're playing, at the end of each situation, you will be given a score based on one of 2 things: violence used and political means used. Now, what does that mean? Basically, this is the score that is given to you by either solving an issue using violence, or if you use some other ways, such as maybe pushing them out, not having to hit somebody over the head with a rock. That's basically what this means and what this score is about. I'm going to give you guys more on that score in a little bit in the con section, but I did want to point that out in the gameplay section. We've talked about pretty much everything this game has to offer. It is supposed to be an RTS game, but as you will see in the con section, I have some problems with that. My first con for this game is that this game is basically a trial and error simulator. What do I mean by that? This game is supposed to be an RTS game. But the problem with that is that it doesn't play like an RTS game. Basically, you'll find yourself most of the time just trial and erroring things. Oh, I need to push so-and-so out of here? Let me shoot a smoke grenade at him. Oh, maybe if I go violent, I can get this to work or get that to work. There's no real stop, plan, oh, let me think. There's none of that. It's just go for it most of the time. My second con for this game is going back to the controls. They need a lot of work. One of my major issues with this game is that you can't select more than one unit at a time. If you need something in the moment, like let's say you need to use a smoke grenade and you need to use that smoke grenade right freaking now, you're screwed. You're basically screwed. Why is that? Because you have to cycle through each unit in order to get down to the unit that has a smoke grenade. Problem. My third con is that this game has no tutorial whatsoever. You're just thrown into it and basically told, hey, good luck. My final con for this game is that this game is hard to follow. When things are going on, like let's say you're taking an objective, at times things would pop up on my screen that said something to the point of, someone has died. I'm looking at the screen, I'm studying the screen, I'm thinking to myself, who died? What happened? Why did they die? Did they have a heart attack? What happened? Dr. Mumbles wasn't there, I didn't do anything. Why did they die? This game is really, really, really hard to follow. Like, when you're doing things just kind of go everywhere, and it's really hard to understand what is going on or what impact what you're doing is having. So, big time con in that regard. The other thing that hooks onto this con is that because it is hard to see what is going on, it actually affects the political score. Because as a police officer or as the other side, the rebel, you can take pictures of violence acts that are happening so that you can kind of say, hey, look, they did this, that, and the other. If you can't see what's going on, how are you going to take a picture? So these are the cons to this game. Let me talk about my overall score for Riot Civil Unrest. I don't mean to hate on this game because this game, I know a lot of people had a lot of hype around. It's the first game of its kind that lets you control a situation of volatility. Something that's going on in the world. It puts you in those shoes and it asks you, hey, police-wise, would you use violent means? Or would you simply ask them to leave? The problem is that the execution of that. I just think that they could have done a little bit better in the execution. It doesn't feel like an RTS game to me. It feels more like as I said, a trial and error simulator. Basically, throw all your units out there and see what works. That's not what you want in an RTS game. You want something that actually makes you think about what you're doing. This game didn't do that for me. And it's for that reason, on today's Mumbles review, this game is going to get a 6 out of 10. It's still a nice game. It just needs some adjustments. If it gets those adjustments, it could easily be a 6. It could easily be a 7 or an 8 score game. Anyways, guys, this has been my review of Riot Civil Unrest. I hope you guys all enjoyed it. Please smack that subscribe button, smack that like button, and smack all those buttons. Let me know what your thoughts are on this game in the comments below. And anyways, guys, this is Mumbles signing off. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.